Good. Hello? Yes. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are about to start our Central Committee meeting for this morning. So I hereby call to order the meeting of the Central Committee for today, Thursday, the 18th of December. I would like to extend a cordial welcome to members of the Central Committee, to those in the public gallery, and to the public who are following the proceedings via radio, Facebook, and other online platforms. This meeting of the Central Committee is duly convened in accordance with Article 8 of the Rules of Order of the Island Council Committee Ordinance. Before we proceed, are there any announcements from committee members? Any announcements? No. Okay, I can only state, I think Mr. Van Putten, Councilman Van Putten, has given notice that he could not be present in this meeting. Agenda point number 3, setting of the agenda. The agenda as published reads as follows: 1 opening, 2 announcements, 3 setting of the agenda, 4 third implementation report and reaction of the CFT, 5 is the third budget amendment and reaction from the CFT, 6 announcements of the Executive Council, and 7 is closing. So can the committee find themselves in the agenda as announced, as read? No. Okay, so all right, so we got a affirmation from the members, so we adopt the agenda as read. So we move on to agenda point number 4, which is the third implementation report 2025 and reaction from the CFT. For this agenda point, we will be handling the third quarterly implementation report, which provides an overview of the financial position for the months of July, August, and September. The report was submitted to the CFT for advice, and their feedback has since been received. For a more detailed discussion on the report, I will now give the word to Commissioner of Finance, Ruben Merkman, to further elucidate this agenda point. Commissioner Merkman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to you. For this agenda point, the implementation report, I will give a short introduction, and then the unit manager I would like to request the unit manager be allowed to come to make a presentation on the uitvoeringsrapportage. As we know, on the 29th of October, this implementation report was submitted to the College of Financial Supervision, and the College of Financial Supervision came back with a positive advice. And they also commended the Finance Department for their improvements moving forward in the quality of the reporting. But they also gave some recommendations that we are following up on, which is it has to do more with the meerjaren bijzondere uitkeringen. That they want them in the fixed budget. They would like to see them in the fixed budget. But those are some of the things that we are looking at. And we, for the period ending September, the income of the OLA was 41,600,000, and and the expenditures was 38,200,000. And so we see that we have a positive of 3.3 million US dollars. So we are still within the compliance requirements of the CFD. And I would like to commend the council for being a good watchdog in this area, because without your strict hand, it's possible that, I know it's not possible, but I would like to commend you still for being a strict watchdog and helping us to keep on our toes when it comes to financial management. With that, I would like to request your cooperation in allowing the unit manager to go into the numbers dealing with the earthworks rapportage, because it's basically a overview of what, as you indicated, what transpired during the month. So we're just giving a small synopsis of what has transpired. And, yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Merkman. Mr. Tuitt, you have the floor. You have the floor, Mr. Tuitt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay. Good morning, everyone, the listening public too. The third implementation report, or the third quarter implementation report of the public entity of St. Eustatius. As you know, the third quarter report got, as the commissioner said, positive advice from the CFT, and they also give recommendation or let's say a good report that we are improving our reporting standards and our reporting methods. The third quarter closed with a positive result of 3.3 million. And if you compare it with the projection that we did in the first budget, or in the main budget, it is 1.3 million higher, $1.3 million higher. However, due to a mishap that we had, we couldn't use the second budget amendment as comparative figures, so we had to use the first budget amendment as comparative figures, because that was the one, or the latest one, that was approved. If we look at the figures, we will see that the total revenues for 2024 was 27.8 million. And if we go to the third quarter, we will see that it is 21.5 million, which one of the, let's say, items that is, let's say, that we are looking at very carefully is the income from the harbor. But we will get into that later down. As far as the expenditures are concerned, if we look at the actual expenditures for the third quarter, it ended up at 18 million, and that gives us the 3.3 million surplus. Then we go over to the developments that we have from the funds that have been awarded. And in this period, we got an extra free allowance relating to the indexation of the amounts, and that the money that we are getting, we will be will be using it for improvement in infrastructure, in digital accessibility, strengthening social welfare programs, promoting sports development, and intensifying against poverty. We also, as was noting already, that we are improving the budgeting process. Our accounting practices are being adjusted, and transparency is improving to the public. We will receive free allowance for the first 6 months late in July, which caused a loss of interest revenue of about, we made a rough calculation, about 94 million, around there. However, we have some good news that 94,000. And but we have some good news is that because we made a complaint to the BZK, and they agreed that they will compensate us, and they did compensate us 64 million. So, I know it's 64,000. I don't know, I like this million. 64,000. So, we're thinking big today. Okay, so that is good news. To improve the reporting process, the Finance Department has prepared the third quarter implementation report with some help. And I have to commend the Finance Department because the third implementation report was prepared by the by the personnel of the Finance Department with a little help. But they are getting there, and they can prepare these reports. The idea is in 2026 for the Finance Department to be able to prepare all these reports independently. So that is the goal that we have.
Mr. Tuitt, can I ask a question for clarification? You said you got 64 in compensation, but on the screen I see 66.
66. Okay.
So that's correct number.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Then we go over to the C. Yeah. Increasing compliance is also important as far as the billing process is concerned, and also, naturally, the collection process. And that we are working fervently on that right now, so that that can operate more efficiently. Another item that is very important is the Internal Control Department, which we are working on. The position will be advertised, but I could say that looking at the media this week, this position was advertised. So the Internal Control Department vacancy has been published. We also have clear goals for a good finance team. And once we have a good finance team, we will, with the help of the population, we can function how we should function. Then we go to the recommendation of the CFT. As was said, CFT gave a positive advice. The budget remains balanced. And then CFT states, Statia has improved its financial management. The CFT complements Statia with the attainment of higher reporting quality and spending of its resources. So that's good news that you get it from the CFT. One item is the legality of spending special allowances. However, in the second budget amendment, we put in all the special allowances. So from the second budget amendment forward, we will be including special allowances in the budget. So then this recommendation of the CFT has already been covered. Then we could go to the next slide. Yep. Here we can see that we make comparison of the first budget amendment and the amounts that we have during this period. And if we look at the income side, then we can see that the incomes, the largest is the 17 million, which is from the free allowance. Then if you look at the harbor, then you can see that it's lagging. It's lagging, and that is because of the situation in the oil industry, where less activities is taking place there. So once less activity takes place, it affects the revenues of the harbor. And that has been taking place because this is in every budget amendment that we made, we lowered the income expectation from the harbor. So here also, we lowered the income expectation with the third budget amendment, which we will deal with later on. You will see that that amount was lowered again. So really, when you are at the third quarter, you're supposed to have at least 75% of the revenue. And you could see that the harbor only had 52% compared with the 75% that it's supposed to have. The permits also was lagging. It generated 45% instead of the 75%. And the other revenues also had 69% instead of 75%. Yep. The next slide. This one deals with the income, which we went over just now. You can see that the special allowances is about, now I could use the word 20 million, and that the normal revenues, or what we call the local revenues, amounts to 21 million. And so the total income is 41.5 million. And as was said, the free allowance, that is based on the October circular, and the indexation was given of 1.4 million. Then we have the interest income also went up, and that was because we use conservative percentage, and the actual percentage was higher than that. So that's why you had a positive addition for the interest income. And then comes the harbor revenue, which the realization is 30% below projections. This is mainly due to the decline in the terminal movements, leading to decline in cargo and pier feeds and lower bunker activities. Lower tourism also contributed to the reduction of the harbor fees. Then we go to the expenditure side. The next slide. The next one. Yep. So if we look at the expenditure side, we see that the personnel cost is 10.5 million. The other big one is property and management expenses, 1.6 million. We have office expenses for 1 million, and we have subsidies and financial contribution of 1.3 million. The personnel expenses cost was lower due to the unfilled vacancies. The office expenditures, that expense was 356,000 higher, and that was due to the bulk purchases that were made, including some booklets and small appliances. And the property management expenditure were 809K lower due to delays in road maintenance work. Airport and harbor projects also had some delays, so that's why we had a lower expenditure. And then the last one is subsidies and financial contribution were 400K lower because most of the activities of that category takes place in the fourth quarter, which we are in now. You had like the Christmas gala, the Statia Day celebration. So all of those took place after the third quarter. So that's why you had the lower amount. Then we go to the investments. Here we can see that the additions in investments were the following. Land and building for the government building was increased by 717K. Then we had the Ecostatia transfer property, 1.6 million.
Mr. Tuvetev, can you tell us what page you are in the report so that
This
we
one.
maybe can follow?
This one?
But you know the page number?
Okay, the page number is 13.
13.
Oh, you have the budget itself? I mean, the report, the implementation report itself?
13 doesn't have this.
No, you have the implementation report
Yes,
itself?
patient
Oh.
report.
Was on 12 just now. That was with the income.
It's not on 12 either.
No, just now was 11.
So you're talking about investments.
Couldn't find it.
Oh, I thought. What did you-
Page 47, I think it is. 47.
Page 47 in the report. I had a presentation. I thought you all got the presentation, but it seems not.
No.
Yeah, so page 47, that is what we are dealing with now. So you have the 717, that was for the land and for the government building. Then you have the Ecostatia and transfer of property, 1.6 million. The other one, transfer of property from the housing, some Statia housing, 495. And you have the new vehicle for the governor still, it's still outstanding, which is 81K. Okay. No, this is up to the third quarter now. We're talking up to the third quarter. So if it came in the fourth quarter, that would be nice. Then, so the totals, you can see the total investment here is 2.9 million, the additional investments that we put in for the period up to the third quarter. Then we go over to the cash flow. As you can see, we still have a positive cash flow. And the total projected up to the fourth quarter, up to the third quarter was 99 million. That would be, let me see, in the report, that would be page 53. No, that would be, that'll be 51.
58.
You're with 58? Okay. So, as you can see, the total is 99, and the outflow then is 12. So you stay on the bank with the 86 million. Then we go over to the developments. Okay, we could run through this quick too. The postponement of investments were these three items: the building renovation, the public works, the building renovation for finance and census office, 250,000 each, and then you have the school, 284. So these were moved from 2025 to 2026. So they are still budgeted. Let's go to the other one.
Okay, Council Lady Spanner, County.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. Tuit, could you please explain to me what we're speaking about building renovation when it comes to public works and finance? Are we speaking about putting 500K into the mall?
It was budgeted first $500,000 each, and we postponed them for 2026. Why? Because the government is still trying to negotiate to see how they can get funds to build the central government building. Now, if you're going to build a central government building, then you have to be careful how much money you put in the old buildings, because the money that you could use for the new building, you are putting it in the old building. So that's why the transfer was moved from 25 to 26. It was moved from 25 to 26, and then we'll see how the developments with the negotiation to get the funds to build a new central government building goes.
Clarification, Mr. Chairman. Yeah. Leave it for my first round? Just a very yes or no question. This proposal or this idea, did it pass through the council? The Island Council was not involved in this decision?
Well, it's just for cash flow purposes. You move certain, let's say, but it won't take place this year anyhow. So
No,
that's why.
that is not my question, Mr. Tuwe. No, I'll leave it for my first round.
Okay.
I'll leave it.
Mr. Chairman, can we provide some elucidation on it, on the question of Council Lady Raquel? I find it a very relevant question, and since it's hot now, can we...
You just.
All right, all right. Okay, so we're going to have a round of discussion still, but a short clarification from Commissioner Leerdam.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Good morning to everyone. That was the plan, I think, from since 2024, and we have postponed that because we have greater ambitions to get a building. So we left the money on like that, but of course it will not be used for that. We actually said we would have relocate the persons from drop into a new building we was trying to acquire, and then have the persons who are working with the machinery, they could have an office in the back, and then we don't have to spend the money in that building. And then the building for the census, we would not be able to move them at the moment without the new Cuscabao, so the renovations for that building will have to take place. But the money is to put in the mall, we decided we're not gonna put that in the mall anymore. So that money was gonna go towards a new building that we were looking to purchase as well.
All right, thank you. Mr. Tuitt, you can continue.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next one. Okay, the new investment, we went through those already. So we could go to the other page. Okay, now we reach to the developments. Okay, the developments that we are going through are that we are still in the process of optimizing our first system so that we can use it optimally. There were certain things that we expected the system to do. It couldn't do it. So now they came with a new link, and we hope that that link can work so we can get the reports. What our idea is that all the information from AFAS supposed to be able to go automatically in a report, and then we don't have to make all these Excel sheets to carry the information from AFAS to the report. So if we could get that automated, it will alleviate the finance department a lot, because there is one person in the finance department that is a lot of her time goes into preparing these Excel sheets and so. And if we can avoid that, that will be a great step forward. As was said too, the plans for internal control, those are moving ahead. The vacancy has been published in the fourth quarter. Financial reporting, in the financial reporting, we added a report where it gives an analysis of the revenues and the expenditures, and also they were formerly you all only used to have the expenditures divided on an economic function, on an economic basis. Now we also have it divided on a functional basis. So you have two different divisions, the same numbers, but two different divisions, or the same totals. And we also added an additional schedule for the capital investments, and probably that's one of the reasons why CFT is saying that we improved our reporting very much compared to prior years. As you know, and as we went over that already, the island, or Ole, for the first time in history, got a clean opinion. That was 14 years in the making, and it happened this year. The finance department worked hard. There were 3 points that were outstanding, and those were cleared up. One was the completeness of the revenues. The other one had to do with management policy, and the third one had to do with projects. So those points were cleared up, And because those points were cleared up, the auditors were able to give a clean opinion, or as you call it in accounting too, an unqualified opinion, audit opinion. During the third quarter, the finance department concentrated on upgrading the employees in the finance department. The PC team got additional courses, how to deal with the implementation report. Also, the two consultants gave them coaching, and they were able to produce the third quarter, this report. They were able to produce it. So we are moving forward, and we know that we are on the right track. Just a little note on the special allowances. The special allowances, as you know, come from different European sources. They aren't the biggest revenue, but they have a big impact on the revenue flow of OLE. As of September 30th, we had 149 projects were registered compared to 146 in 2024. So 8 new projects were brought online, and 5 projects were terminated. Mr. Chairman, that ends my presentation. Thank you for your indulgence.
Thank you, Mr. Tuitt. All right, so we will open now the first period of deliberation on this agenda point. Yeah. Okay, so we will deliberate as is prescribed in 2 terms, 2 periods. And if there is no other proposal, then we will maintain the regular speaking time of 20 minutes in the first round, 10 in the second round. So if no proposal, otherwise, then we go into the first round of this deliberation on this agenda point. Order of speaking, Councilman Derek Simmons, Council Lady Raquel Spanner-Carty, Council Lady Lope Spanner, and Councilman Schmidt. So Councilman Simmons, I give you the word.
Yes, good morning. Thanks. I would be brief. I noticed a few things. For example, when you're talking about payment of taxes, I find it amazing you're there paying taxes that you don't really get a report from the national government. I keep asking, they write something in paper as if it don't exist. So why pay something if it don't exist? And it costs a lot of money. For example, when you look at the airport parking, you see all these vehicles from the national government taking up space. And my question is, why aren't they parked where you have staff parking? You know, they're using up our resources. You probably get a favor where they pay something to build the building, but then you're constantly using up space. And, you know, it's, just a concern. And the area where you talk about AFAS, I'm one for years trying to fix these automated system. In the past, you had Key to Finance. Yeah, there was a problem. I said the problem really isn't the software. The problem is you need to fix what the problem is. And the same thing with AFAS. If you don't know, you can't fix it. And often what I notice is we work as, well, when I was working as a civil servant, trying to solve these problems as you find out what the real problem is. And sometimes when they get to fix it, they need to pay some expensive consultant to come in and get it done. While I constantly say you have civil servants, good civil servants, doing good work, but you sort of tie it up in all kind of bureaucracy and if you want to pay them something extra, it's not possible. And I believe that is a humongous problem. And getting reports automated to me is just a simple exercise. But for some reason, it's just not getting done. But I know, like what you said, having the link with AFAS, it is possible. It's just finding out exactly what the problem is. And working on those kind of problems over the last 2 years, I have solved a lot of things, especially when it comes to finance, but it just to know. You just didn't know, don't understand what exactly the problem is, and then solve it. So I'm happy you're seeing movements, but still, we are not getting there. And then when you look, you are spending, a lot of money is being spent where it could be done, like you said earlier, I think not in the reporting, that yes, you said in the reporting, the finance department will be able to do the reporting internally without any external support. And a lot have to do with automation. So if that is done, then it makes life a lot easier for them, where they press a button and the only thing you do is basically double checking the information. I yield my time.
Thank you, Councilman Simmons. Council Lady Spanakati.
Okay. First of all, I want to congratulate Finance on the positive response from CFT. Indeed, it's and also, of course, Commissioner Merkman on the positive report from CFT. I was wondering in their letter, CFT's letter, they also mentioned some delay in projects. I was wondering what was the main reason for the delay, and what are we doing as a government to alleviate this, or to do better, basically. In their toelichting, they mentioned evenwicht, which is balance. I also wanted to know what is being done to tip the scale in the more positive side. Qua revenue, and if the council could get an update on motions such as the entry tax that was proposed to help us earn our own money. On page 6 of the implementation report, there is mention made of a NARIS system. I was wondering what makes this system attractive. Why was this system chosen? And on the same page in the bottom, there was mentioned various possible methods were discussed and the NARIS system will be evaluated. When will this be done? Page 7. It's mentioned the liquidity position remains a point of attention requiring a substantive risk analysis. I was wondering how this affects our day-to-day operation. If we have no money actually there, liquid, how are we operating? How are we running our organization? Page 11 of the report, the harbor. You mentioned in your presentation, Mr. Tuitt, we have you mentioned lower bunker activity and reduced tourism have further affected other harbor income sources. What tourism exactly do we get through our harbor that generates such a noticeable income that we would notice the decline? I didn't realize that tourism was a source of revenue through our harbor. Because when people come in, I'm not aware of any fees that they pay, normal tourists. Page 12. These were also mentioned. Financial effects of current and pending court cases and or additional or increased fines. Do we have any kind of estimate as to the amount that we are looking at? Page 25 of the report. Revenues from permits are 44,000 lower than expected. Other revenues, 9,000 lower. Harbor, 379,000 lower. Airport taxes and landing, 14.5 thousand lower. Some are higher, like civil registry and travel, revenue and waste tax. How have we, as a government, responded to the shortfall of the expected revenues that are, and if 2026, did we have any plans to alleviate or to counteract this disappointment in the expected revenues? Page 28 of the report. Speaking about the vacancies, we have spoken at length about the expected vergrijzing of our civil corps, that in the coming years, a lot will be going on pension. Now, we already have a lot of vacancies that we can't fill. I was wondering if the Executive Council is doing anything towards this problem in the sense of maybe looking into training of our current staff so that they can move up the ladder, fill these higher positions, whereas the lower positions, which are easier to fill, can then become open. I know we have a lot of unused talents within our civil corps and a lot of possibilities. So I was wondering, what are we doing with this lack of skilled personnel, especially at the top? And if we're doing anything also when it regards to the vergrijzing. Page 32 of the report. I have an issue with the word. There is an increasing trend in travel and accommodation. The word trend means fashion. And I feel travel should always be necessary and for a purpose. And I therefore applaud the last sentence. Both travel and representation expenses will be further analyzed and guidelines will be issued to maintain these expenses within the budget period moving forward. So I hope instead of increasing the budget on the travel, we rather look at the reasons for travel and if it's truly necessary. Page 34 of the report. Subsidies to foundations and associations. I was wondering, I know it in the past, it has been an issue of foundations reporting back to us. Has the reporting system been improved? Are we getting them on time? Did we impose any penalties when we do not receive these reports? I remember seeing one from a particular foundation, and I was very disappointed in the quality. It looked like my daughter's math homework. Very simple, no details, and we are speaking of accountants. So I feel the quality, we are paying a lot of money, and we are responsible for that money, and we should know how it's being spent. My final question, Mr. Chairman, or comment for the public, especially listening. I have grown up as a child hearing the stories about this mall where we currently sit. This part is new. It was supposed to be a hospital. Many may not know that. It was a disaster from the beginning. Sabre refused it. Stacia took it. Looking at it now, you wonder how it ever could have been a hospital. To see the report stating 500,000 going into this, excuse my language, dump, I'm going back to the question that I asked before. Did this pass through the council? Did this pass my attention and I didn't notice? Did we approve 500,000 going into the mall? I remember one of my first council meetings when I started as an Island Council member was about the Kosgebouw. I was very disappointed. It was voted off. Now, it was voted off because we did not want to leave our generations with a bill. How do we excuse 500,000 into this building? Can't we put it towards something else? So that, I understood, is the plan, but I would like an answer to my question. Did this pass through us, and did we approve this? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Council Lady Spanakati. The word is now to Council Lady Lope-Spanner.
Good morning to everyone. My colleague, my DP leader, already asked most of the questions. So I just wanted to add, I am so pleased to hear that our personnel at the finance department is carrying out most of the work. And I cannot say enough how proud I am of them. And, you know, to congratulate the commissioner and the entire team. It is important to stress the good work that they are doing. And so I could not let this moment pass without saying I am so proud of them. And thank you and congratulations. As my colleague mentioned, I just want to add on that part where we had a Island Council meeting on the Kosgebouw, and indeed we both voted for the cost, but it was voted off. And I was so disappointed with that, because when you go to the other, our other sister islands, you see this beautiful building where they have the civil servants in it, where you would definitely expect good performance because they're in a beautiful, comfortable place. And why do our people don't deserve to get something like that? I understood what was mentioned there, and then my great-grandchildren will be paying the bill. Yes, we don't know. We don't know if for some reason it would be paid off before it even get to that. But I was really disappointed that that was voted off. Our civil servants was every day coming into work and just in a little, I would say like my colleague, little dump where they are working. And it's not fair to them because we expect them to perform in the correct way, but how could they perform in such a deplorable state? So I really hope that soon that we will get something back on the table where we can move forward in a better manner for our civil servant. And with that said, I will, one question I wanted to ask, I think my colleague mentioned that the taxes at the airport was lowered. I stand to be corrected. The taxes at the airport was lowered, but then they say the traveling was higher. I just wanted to understand that. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Lady Lopes-Banner. All right, so I have a couple questions of my own. Yeah, so the unit manager mentioned some indexation funds were received from the national government. I don't recall him mentioning the amount of the indexation amount and also some areas where the funds could be used. I wonder if we can get a little more details on the plans for the use of these funds. He mentioned infrastructure. What exactly is planned for infrastructure, for example? Also, the airport, I would like to get an update on what's happening at the airport in terms of investment. We know that the tarmac extension was in progress. What is the status of that? We know since this airport building was established from day one, we can say there's been complaints about the building. I'm still hearing from personnel there about issues with mold and water and that type of thing. What is the government doing about that? Who's working on that? Is there a report being prepared on necessary improvements at the airport? I don't know how long it is now that it's in operation, but can we get an idea what is being done about these complaints? I think I read somewhere that a new scanning machine has been ordered for the airport some time ago. Is that correct? And when can we expect that? I also am hearing from that the present person in charge of, I think, airport security, I think it's a European Dutchman, I understand he's leaving. What is the plans of government to find a replacement for this gentleman? The airport security, also, they're telling me that they are the forgotten department of the government. And they're talking about, for example, need of transportation. Is there a need for transportation for security? What is the issue about that? I know security personnel work sometimes at airport, sometimes they work at harbor. What is the issue with transportation? At least a vehicle. I see many government departments have vehicles. I see quite a few new vehicles coming in for government. So does the security department also need to have a vehicle? That's my question. Then we also talk a few times about the enclosing of the front of the building, the check-in area. We understood that materials were ordered that ultimately could not be used. What is the status of that? was the government able to get rid of those materials in order to replace them with new materials? Is there a timeline when we can look forward to the proper enclosure of that area of the airport building? And then, of course, the complaints every day about, well, I won't call them complaints, but we hear about the baggage delivery system for arriving passengers. There was also plans for investment in something more modern. What is the update on that? And in general, since this building, I think, was put there during the time of the Dutch interventions, one of their intervention projects, what is the responsibility of the national government in terms of covering the cost of all of these improvements, especially the structural improvements of the building in terms of leaking and mold and those kind of things that are there from day one? What is the national government responsibility for that? I guess the contractor is long out of sight, but again, this was an intervention project. All right, I had the governor's car on my list too, but that was already mentioned, and I understand that it's already on the island, so can't save any money there. The harbor, yeah, so I got an explanation from the unit manager that the harbor revenue decline is mainly due to operations relating to the oil transition and the area, so the terminal activities, yeah. So other areas, what percentage of the total expected revenue was related to this oil? And what was related to the other areas of the harbor operation? I think in the last week, I also heard reports of the warehouse on the bay, the harbor being full, so that other containers could not be unloaded because there were no space in the warehouse. I don't know if I correctly recall, wasn't there a project or a plan to also extend the warehouse, expand it or build a new one, maybe part of the harbor development? And also, yeah, with respect to the warehouse, there was also a suggestion, a proposal made in the past, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, that government did issue some type of notification about that folks cannot just leave their goods in the warehouse for a month and 2 months. You should get your goods out of the warehouse in 2 or 3 days, and after that, you charge a storage fee. Is that in place? Is that in the plans? What is the position of the government on that, and especially about expanding the capacity of the warehouse, because that's going to be a continuing problem. I know recently a contract was signed for a harbor project. So again, my question is the warehouse anywhere part of that contract that was signed? I'm also interested to know what is the cause or the reason for the lagging of income from permits at the permitting department. What types of permit is lagging? Is it building permits? How many building permits? Is there a reduction in the amount of permits being given out? So if I can get some analysis, if analysis was done on that as to the cause of reduction in revenues, from the permitting department and what types of permits, because that has a lot to do with our economic activity and our economic development. Building permits has a lot to do with economic activity, business permits, and also environmental permits. I also saw the government published via GIS some information about an agreement that was recently signed in the Netherlands about support from, I think it's called the Omgevingsdienst in the Netherlands, that will be advising the local department. Can we get a little more elucidation on that, exactly as to what this contract is exactly about? In what way will the Dutch Omgevingsdienst be supporting the department here? And is there, well, I assume that a need was identified at the department here that they need that type of support, because we know we have some new people there who do not have the years of experience there at that department, and issuing permits, I think, is a very crucial and critical activity, because you can give a permit and it can eventually, in some situations, if it goes wrong, can cause the government a lot of legal problems and maybe even financial costs. So what is the government's point of view on this? And again, the role of the Dutch Omgevingsdienst in supporting or advising our department here. There was talk in the past that they even wanted to take this whole department over. So is that off the table, or is that still on the table? That there's a possibility of a full takeover of this department that, of course, generates revenues for the island. And finally, I think my colleague mentioned the mall, the whole history behind the mall. Yes, I recall that very well. During the construction time, I'm that young. But my attention is more to the current day situation at the mall. The mall is being used. There are tenants at the mall. Government has quite some offices here, but there are also some private tenants. I know some of the spaces from the time I used to be in government, some of the spaces were rented out to persons maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago, and they still hold them, still have them, even though they may not be using them. Is government collecting revenues from this? What is the revenue being generated from the mall, and what is the government's plan with respect to that? I know years the last time, not the last time, but in 2012, I think, when I was commissioner, we made a total inventory of all the units here at the mall and who owned them and whether they are rented and who was paying and who was not paying. So I would like to hear from government what is the update on that now. So are there tenants beside the government? Are they paying, and what revenue is being generated by this location that we call the mall? Those are my questions in the first round. So I think the word is now to the commissioners, the Executive Council, to answer these questions. Can I give the word to the commissioners at this time? Do you need some time for preparation?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to request Mr. Chairman, I would like to request a 45 minutes courtesy.
Okay, 45 minutes adjournment. We'll be back here. What's the time? We'll be back at 11:45. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to reconvene our meeting for this morning, our Central Committee meeting for today, Thursday, December 18. Right, we adjourned the meeting to allow the Executive Council to prepare answers to questions in the first round. So I will give the word now to the Commissioner of Finance. Yes, Commissioner of Finance to go into the question, but before I give the word to the Commissioner, just for the public consumption to know, we have a outloop, a delay, an extension of the time of the Central Committee meeting. The Island Council meeting was scheduled for 11:30, but we will proceed with the Island Council as soon as we finalize the Central Committee meeting. Okay, so we will continue from one meeting into the other. So I give the word now to Commissioner Merkman, first round.
It was mentioned about the AFAS and the issues that we are having with AFAS, and that the system that we are using doesn't really help with when we have to do our reporting. And that's something that we are working on. We hope to be able to, with the new agreements that we have at AFAS, that we would be able to mitigate that. And I think listening to the presentation of the Island Council member who was who worked formerly within the IT department, it illustrates the problems that you have, that you don't have somebody that is really an expert pertaining to AFAS. Everything you want to do with AFAS, you have to go back to them, and then they come in. It seems as if they want to hold all the chips in their hand. You know, they want to make you too powerful. You know, because if we could have somebody that could do that, you know, that was currently was always available on the ground when we have issues, it would be easy to solve that. But that's not the case. But we have some new ASPRAC agreements with them that we feel will help us in our reporting. There was a question pertaining to delay in delaying projects is caused, and what is the problem? I think the delay in projects is caused primarily by, if we look at, to use one example, we had a project ongoing, and then we encountered a foundation that when the cultural inspector, the heritage inspector came in, he said, listen, we want to preserve this. So now we have to take an alternative route, come up with another idea, and that took some time to complete that project. So that some of those things caused delay in execution. And also we were in need of technical people. We're still in need of technical people on the station. You know, people that can supervise projects. And we also, when we look at the GVP school, you know, there was a big delay in that for about approximately a year. Not even a year, but sorry. For some time there was a standstill in that. So those are some of the things that cause some delay in spending. Because you have a projection, a planning that, let's say we're going to spend 50,000 by the middle of the year. When that doesn't happen, it comes back in the uitvoeringsrapportage because you didn't spend the money that how you plan to spend it. Then there was a question about the NARIS system. The NARIS system is a risk analysis program, and basically we had to change our approach to that because it's too expensive and complicated for a little small municipality like Statia. And the problem with that is that if when you make a risk and you put money to that risk, you can't spend it, so you can't use it, so it has a impact on the amount of money that is available to you, your cash flow. So we are now in discussion with Sabre Bonnier and with Sabre Bonnier to see if we could get one system that will give us a synchronized methodology when we're dealing with risks. My colleague would deal with the harbor, and the director will deal with the question relating to vergrijzing. And then there was a question relating to travel. I think that came from Council Lady Carty, Spanner Carty. And as you know, at this time, a decision was made that all travel plans would be must be approved by the Executive Council, and this policy change is still in place. One of the good things that you have is when you have we have some conscientious civil servants working for us, that they also can signal when certain things are not in according to logic. And then, you know, because there's a planning when it comes to the travel budget, and everybody is being encouraged to stick to your planning, because we don't really want to be moving money around to facilitate travel. And I mean, some travel is necessary, but there's a cry that too much travel is being done. But that is one of the things that we are in discussion with the unit managers, with the directors, that you know, let's travel when it is really necessary. You know, and that's actually the basis of how we function within the OLA. At the airport, there was a question relating to why is if there's less income at the airport, but that doesn't relate to the travel of the civil servants. We have at the airport at this time, you know, it's quite expensive to travel, and I don't want to get into that because I try to avoid that talk about expensive travel. It's just a reality. So that is why the income at the airport too is lower. It's more expensive. It's just more expensive to travel. So less people are moving around. Subsidies and reporting. I think there has been an uptick in the amount of reporting for subsidies, because OLA in the past couple of years have implemented certain procedures when it comes to the reporting, and have also taken some firm stance relating to reporting. And it isn't where we want it to be, but it's a work in progress. And I think there are two concrete examples where we have taken stance relating to the subsidies of government when we feel that we are not getting what we need to get out of these foundations. I hope that gives a little bit more insight as to the reporting. And what the council lady mentioned about the quality of reporting, I mean, all is what I can do, smile. Because sometimes you have people that are, and I'm trying to be very careful here. There are people that are being paid to do accounting at companies, at foundations, and when we see what we get and what is being paid for, it is sad. I just want to leave it there. It is sad. But that's something that we are working with the foundations and saying, listen, we think that you need to get some. We do give advice and say, listen, I think you need to get somebody else. You know, that's just the reality of it. Pertaining to the allotment of monies for renovation at the various public works building and at the census office, those buildings are in a very, not in the best of conditions. Some of them are leaking. And the question was if this was placed on the budget just like that. No, these amounts have been on the budget for years. I think since I came back into the council with, at the time of Lisette Board, that was one of her big things. She was always pushing, listen, we got to put money on, at least have money on the budget to do repairs and renovation of those buildings. But it never happened. So the money just remained on the budget.
With clarification, yes. Mr. Commissioner, my Council Lady Spanakati.
I just wanted to get it clear what the intention is for the money. You said repairs, that it's been on the budget for some years, for some time. I am speaking about these buildings, not from hearsay. I have worked there. The steps are, when it comes to the Arbo Arts, the steps are too high. It was a GGD. It was a GGD when I left here to be a student. There are toxic chemicals that throw away in that building. There are days when you still smell it. The GGD, when we was there as GGD, we tried to cover it by tiling it. It goes beyond rainfall and leaking. It has a stench, and it is unhealthy. It is the way it is set up. You understand? So my concern for the building and referring to it as a dump is not just to be cute. I know about this building, and my concern is if we are going to put in 500,000 in these buildings, was there ever a report to as to what exactly is the condition of this building and is it worth it? So I just feel we're throwing good money after bad, and that was my initial question, and I'm concerned if it was brought to the council and it slipped by all of us and we approved this, because I would have never supported this decision.
Council Lady Spanakati, I hear you very clearly, and I was not aware of the information now you're providing pertaining to the chemicals and stuff like that. But I can set your heart at ease. The current executive council has no desire of putting money in that building. I think I can come out and say that very clearly. But I didn't know anything about the chemicals and stuff like that. And I think my colleague commissioner, in her presentation, she might be able to go in. If it's ticklish giving information when it's the planning is not totally in your hands what you want to do, because my colleague referred to that we are looking at other options, other buildings of moving them out of there, because hearing this what you are stating now, Council Lady, it motivates you or it stimulates you, make you think that we need to move them quicker out of there. You know, so but that's something that my colleague mentioned when she came in. That's what she was referring to, that we are looking at building another building to move them out of there. And they are one of the first, they're actually the first option. They have the first option that we are looking at to move them out of there, and we have exactly to mention two options. One of them is a building that we are looking to purchase. It's not complete as yet, and one of them is we are in the process. We are just waiting on something to say it belongs to the OLA, and then we can move. The option would be to move them into a modern building, but to move them is not easy because of the type of systems that you have there. You know, you have the very sensitive PIVA system there, and it has a lot of security that goes along with that. That when you move into a building, you must be able to provide the same security. You know, so though it's very sensitive to even move them for a shorter period of time to renovate the building. It's just not possible. And too much money will be spent into moving them and securing them to bring it back in the same place, and then you have the same problem. So we are actually looking at moving them totally out of that building. And when the director comes on, she can give you some more elucidation in that area too, if this is not satisfactory. If the explanation is not satisfactory.
Council Lady Lopes has a...
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what she said. Probably 2 years ago, they brought some gentlemen from Curacao. They suited up to go in that building to, because in there they said have, how you call that? Asbestos, yes. So I just wanted to also add that, because at that time I was busy with tickets just as well, and I brought in 3 guys, and they had to suit up to go in the building to clean it.
Thank you, Councillor. I think the whole mall, what we call a white elephant, and it is an elephant, even Public Works that does a lot of work outside, they have a lot of issues too. You know, and they were looking. One of the things the proposal was being made to build over those round things that they got. You know, but they did that with the former Housing Foundation, the OTK, and it didn't solve the problem because they still have a lot of issues with leakages. So that plan was kind of like put aside, because it isn't going to solve the problem that we have. But what we have now with if you're going to do a total rebuild, then that will solve the problem. But that comes along with money. And that's what they deal with the building what we're in now. And I dare say we have a good building. And in the future, this building, this whole operations will be expanded. And so what we have with the white elephant, Council Lady, most of that will be gone in the future. Yeah, you know. So the 500,000 that is there is not from now. It's been there a while. Getting to the airport, I think most of those questions came from Councilman Smith. You wanted an update on airport investments. Relating to the tarmac right now, they have, we are really in the phase where we have to put, we're going to put one more layer on top of that, and then then we can get over to go on to putting the steel, the mesh, and the concrete. So we are really progressing steadily. We have had some challenges where we had machinery breakdown, which we were trying to use government equipment, but the government equipment is not in the best of shape. It has been there quite some time. So, but we are getting some assistance to get it done. I mean, in Statia, you have some good people still that are willing to cooperate with you. So with that happening, and so the planning was that we wanted to have the tarmac done by the end of December, but because of these delays, we see that we're probably going to be moving into, let's say the middle of January. Hopefully by the middle of January, the tarmac will be done. And that is, and then while I was in Holland, I took the opportunity to try to generate some monies for the hangar. Yesterday, actually, I had a discussion with the airport manager because we have we are still deciding where we want to put a hangar because you don't want to clog up too much on this side. So we are actually looking on the other side, but we haven't made a formal decision in the executive council as to the location where the hangar is going to come because we need a hangar ASAP. And there's been some monies put aside by the public entity as an investment for the hangar. Pertaining to the building itself, I don't know where to start when it comes to this building because we have the council lady was talking about a white elephant up there, but I look like that's a dark black elephant over there because majority of the things about that building is a challenge. It's too small. The air filtration system is a problem. It was supposed to have been replaced already to try it because we have a big issue with mold over there. All through the building. It is saturated with mold. And we are constantly getting complaints from our workers over there. And so a lot of people, when they see the security people sitting outside, they don't know why these people choose to sit outside. And that's one of the reasons. So when I hear people complaining about, yeah, the security always sitting outside, there's a reason. You know, so, yeah, but we live in Stasia, you know. And anyway. With the sun, pertaining to the sun is how the building was built. When you're checking in or when you're sitting outside, the sun killing you. And a decision was made by the executive council to try to get some glass so that we could, get a dark glass so that it would protect you a little bit from the sun. And there was a mishap where in communication, where shutters were ordered, but hurricane shutters. So, so that we had to do a reorder, which cost us a lot of money. Then we have, pertaining to the mold, a system has been ordered where a new system has been ordered that should alleviate the problem with mold inside of the airport. A whole new system has been ordered. And my question to the ministry at the time was, suppose you put a system in place and it doesn't solve the problem that you have. What then? So they say, well, when we reach that bridge, we can cross that bridge. But I feel that it's something that you should have already been looking at now because if this problem is not solved soon, one of the things that we would have to look at is closing the airport. Because you can't, it's not something nice to be saying over the air, but you can't be having people trafficking through a building that is not up to standard, up to par. And it forms a health hazard. I must be honest, it forms a health hazard for everybody. And that's what, in our discussions, we put that forward all the time. It is a health hazard for everybody that works at the facility. And even for the passengers is also a health hazard. Pertaining to the baggage carousel that you have there, that should have never been put there because it's better really put it through the window and leave the people to take up the garbage. They take up the baggage. Because when you put it on the carousel, it doesn't move. So they just placing it inside the building, and somebody has to manually go and pull it down and all that nonsense. At this time, at this modern time, that's something of the past. And we were looking at, we have already had discussions about possibility of expanding breaking open the wall there on the side and have a carousel that goes around. So those are some of the discussions that we are having. And also in light of that, you have where the space, if you notice, when you come in and you're going by the customs, sometimes you have a lot of package there in the area there. So they don't have, customs doesn't have really a big enough space to store for packages when packages come in. So the building is not, to me, it's not functional. It's not, I don't know, I'm not an architect, but I just have to shake my head.
Well, Commissioner Merkman, if I may ask a question. I mean, I know you're not done yet, but you're mentioning all these things about the airport and they're already giving you a headache. But is there ever a report made about all these complaints? Is a report, since the building was built new, as I said, during the intervention time, how long is that ago since the airport is in use? Is there a report where all these issues have been summed up and you sent to the ministry and said, this is the problems with the buildings that you put here in Statia? Because now you're saying you're willing to close the airport.
Yeah.
And then?
There's documentation relating to these issues because, as you know, Councilman, there's meetings between, I think it's Seswick's looks to overlay. There you get your minutes, and all of those things are documented, that these are the issues that we have with the building. You mentioned, and the ministry is not taking no responsibility for these issues, huh? They're not taking no responsibilities for that. They're taking responsibility for the mold because there has been a report pertaining to the health, the air. They're taking responsibility for that, but they are always, some people always say, boy, you all have a nice airport building. But we have documentation where we are saying in our week's overlay, these are the problems that we are experiencing. This is the reality. And you can't go back because the maintenance period has elapsed. Unfortunately, the maintenance period has elapsed.
Take responsibility, at least then it's a funding request you can put in.
Yeah, but,
to have all of these
that's the
things
process that
corrected.
Yeah. Well, if it was in the maintenance period, then it would be a lot easier, you know. But now you have to go and fight to get these things done. And technically, when these things happen, we don't wait on the ministry for as the only option. We look within our budget to see what we can do, because one of the things we were looking at is moving back to the old building, you know. But the old building it cannot be renovated. It's in such a condition. It has been left there so long that to go and renovate it means that the recommendation that we are getting is break it down and build it back up. That's what recommendation we are getting from our local architects. Break it down and build it back up. You know, so, yeah.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you again. There was also talk about possibly expanding this building. I think there's an area between the old building and the new building.
Yeah.
Can't you put some kind of structure in there, even temporary, that you can do while you do renovations? Because you can't go back, as you say, the old building is just not suitable.
No,
but
but
you can't shut down the airport. We need the airport.
Councilman, Mr. Chairman, when it comes to that, I think that's a stark reality what we're dealing with now. That if there's no improvement in what we have now, I personally, as Commissioner of Airport, will be recommending for them to close the airport, because it's a health hazard, you know. And if you don't take extreme stance, I see where we're going to be constantly be held on the line, you know. And what you mentioned about the expansion of the airport, it's something that we are looking at, to expand the airport and be able to provide a little more space in between the two buildings, we were having some discussions with the airport manager whereby I think we are now facilitating drawings to do that, engineering drawings to be able to expand on our own, because we're not getting the positive feedback from the Netherlands when it comes to these things. So we are looking within our own budget to do these things. But we don't. But again, you know, we don't have much space when it comes to that. We have to prioritize. Pertaining to the vehicle, there was a question relating to the vehicle for the security. That is on the budget. That is on the budget at this time. I think I've answered the majority of the question. My colleague and will answer the questions that relates to her portfolio, and the director of Bedrijfsvoering Fooding will now answer the questions relating to personnel. With your indulgence, Mr. Chairman.
The scanning machine.
Oh, yes, there's been, I think sometime back, when the scanning machine was down, you had to take your luggage and bring it inside. We have ordered a scanning machine, and that's what we have now. It should be a bigger, better one, because the scanning machine in the back, there was issues with it.
You're saying the new one is in place already?
We have a machine in place. That's the new one, and then you have one in the back. You have a machine in the back that was being used. That one was broken down. The one with the airport luggage, from the airline, it goes in the back, pass in the back. Before, you had to bring your luggage in front. You had to walk with your, yeah. But if I understand your question correctly. This scanner machine. We bought a scanner. We have bought a scanner. Yes. Okay. Not well. It's not the best. It costs a lot more. Yeah.
Okay,
The more the one costs.
we have a presentation again.
No, one question.
Which?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The question about the wegracing, so the director is here that she can elucidate a bit more, because this question has been asked, and I think it's good if we get an in-depth elucidation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Indeed, the council had a question about the aging population, the aging civil corps, and what is being done to address the situation of the fast aging population. There are a number of things that right now we are already doing. The recruitment and selection policy was recently updated, and the main reason was to expedite the selection process, the selection and recruitment process, to expedite that as much as possible. So one of the things that we also do is before someone, or when someone is reaching the pensionable age, we try as much as possible, at least 6 months before, to start the selection and recruitment process to have these vacancies, when they become vacant, filled as quick as possible. But besides that, I believe the council is asking more towards succession planning. What are we doing with succession planning? As you know, we have a career launch project at the moment, and the career launch project is being evaluated. And we are already thinking about expanding the career launch project in the next phase